Right, we're off. All right. Welcome everyone to our Masters preview. We're going to basically be discussing everything to do with the tournament this week at Augusta. We're going to be tackling the players we like as our picks and also just some discussion topics of the world of golf at the minute. But to help me do that, I'm joined by two guests. First of all, joined by Kenny, host of the Shoot Basketball podcast. An extremely talented golfer, I believe, as well. Kenny, am I right in saying you play off 4, is it?
Yeah, I play quite a bit. Used to play competitively quite a bit. Probably around a 4 or 5 handicap now, but used to be around a scratch a number of years ago. So I enjoy the game, you could say that.
Yeah, there you go. So if you get any of these picks wrong, we're blaming you with your golf knowledge. But yeah, good to have him over and a bit of Canadian insight into this week's competition. But also we've got my very good mate, George, here as well. George actually got me this for my 21st birthday yesterday, my little Eagles jersey with my surname on the back. So he smashed that. George is a professional cricketer for Warwickshire and also a huge bandit on the golf course. Says he has a handicap of about 20 odd, but no doubt will be seen 2 under through 3 holes with some eagle opportunities. But George, how you doing, lad? You all right?
Oh, mate, yeah, good to have me on. I'm in Kenny's league of a 5 handicapper, but I'll call myself 18 handicapper for now, so I'm okay. Middle of the road.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss our picks. So we've each got 3 picks who we like for this week at Augusta, 1 that we don't like given the odds they've been provided. We're going to have a quick discussion on just a few topics of the world of golf at the minute. And then also in amongst that, I've got 10 quick-fire Augusta quiz questions where Kenny and George are going to go head-to-head and see who's got the knowledge of the competition. But first, just a few topics of discussion. I'm going to go straight to Kenny. Kenny, what do we think of the sort of discussion and argument about do we need to reduce the amount these guys are hitting it off the tee? Do we need to make courses longer? Is Bryson drinking 6 protein shakes a big issue for golf? And does there need to be changes made to the PGA Tour?
I mean, the big hitting thing, it's a yes and no question, because the yes part of it is from an entertainment perspective. I mean, it's incredible to be able to watch these guys hit it 350, 360, even sometimes crossing like 400 yards. You see guys hitting these drives. But I mean, as far as golf courses go, I mean, it is bad for the game. They're having to take all of these classic courses. They have to lengthen them. Otherwise, they're almost unplayable at that point. And some of them aren't even able to do that. So, I mean, I like it from watching it as a fan, but I don't think as a golf course designer, you're too thrilled to see guys tearing up courses that are 7,000 yards plus that used to be incredibly long and are now being taken advantage of.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic of discussion that's being brought about a lot. I know players like Matt Fitzpatrick have had kind of sly digs at Bryson and making it however easy it is. George, do you think there needs to be changes, or do you just like letting it play out and see what happens in the next coming tournaments?
I agree with Kenny, and that is a yes or no question. I think you can't take away from the fact that Bryson's gone away and done it himself. Like, he hasn't had any help from anyone else, and I think that's very admirable in what he's achieved. But in the long run, if he's done it and doing it, then people are going to carry on, and it's only going to stack up, which could in the future make it just ridiculous. And we'll be seeing silly scores at the end of 4 days of golf, which I don't know what the record is, but it could be stupid. So yes, obviously it's great as a fan, but I think in time, guys like Fitzpatrick who don't hit the ball far enough won't be able to compete.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Like you guys said about Bryson, like going away and doing his thing. I think like in the world of sport, that's what you want to see. You want to see teams and players like go and try and be unique in a way and come up with their own style of play and game that helps them and benefits them the way he does. And like, for me personally, I think if Bryson comes back from his body transformation and hits the ball 350 yards, but is spraying everywhere off the tee, then and he's not shooting these low scores, then it doesn't really come up in conversation as much. But just given the success that he's had with this new drive and the distance and the weight that he's put on, now it comes to topic. So for me, I don't think there needs to be many changes, to be honest. I like the way it plays. Like, we've still got competitions like the US Open at Winged Foot where only one player scores under par. So there are competitions where that happens, but like Kenny says, as a spectator sport and entertainment, we want to see birdies and eagles go in. So I'm not too worried about it at the minute. But one thing that is another debate at the minute is hoodie gate. What do we think about the wearing of hoodies on the golf course? George, coming to you first. Hoodie or no hoodie?
I don't mind it at all. I think I saw a really good tweet actually from I think it was Varner the Third. Is it Harold Varner the Third? And he was basically saying it's a problem in itself, the fact that people have a problem with people wearing hoodies, if that makes sense. Like, doesn't that, it tells a story. It's telling in itself that people are worried about what golfers are wearing. I mean, we think it's such a good thing that Bryson's hitting the ball a long way and using modern science and modern technology, yet a guy can't wear a hoodie on a golf course. It's silly. I think it's fine. Golf needs to shrug off a lot of these backwards etiquette, that kind of thing. It needs to become progressive along with modern society. And I think if wearing a hoodie means that someone can express themselves on a golf course, and go for it.
Yeah, Kenny, what are your thoughts on that? I agree, George. I'm agree with you. What about you, Kenny?
I think hoodies are great for the game. I mean, here in Canada, we actually have a golf company. They're called Player Golf. This is their logo that I'm wearing here. They actually have the casual golf gear, whether it's T-shirts, sweaters, whatever it is that you want to wear comfortably when you're going out to play. And it's become a very successful brand here. And I think it's just the times are changing. Like, golf courses, you're no longer seeing as many private clubs. It's a lot more public courses. They're trying to become more friendly for the everyday golfer. And I think hoodies are great. I mean, the fact that PGA Tour players can't even wear shorts when it's plus 40 out, and, it's insane for them that they can't even do that. So, I mean, hoodies is one thing. Shorts is probably going to be the next one. I mean, it's just, I love hoodies. I love wearing them here, especially in Canada when it's freezing cold all the time. Hoodies golfing are great.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I don't have much to add. The only thing I would say is, obviously, they're trying to grow and make golf as accessible as it is to any age, any gender, any whatever. But I think what is the line which is going to be sort of close to drawing is, like, where do they go in terms of how far can they go in terms of what people wear or what people do or what people say, people spitting, like we've seen that before, like. Because obviously you go to, for example, over here we have Wimbledon, and at Wimbledon, like, it's just a fact that everyone wears white. Like, people are saying, do they change that? Is it a competition where people should be able to express whatever they wear? But it's kind of just like the tradition of it. And I'm not saying that wearing a hoodie changes the tradition of golf, but obviously it's a
slippery slope.
Exactly. So it's hard to know where you go and how far you can go. But no, I'm with you on the hoodies. Final little discussion before we go on to our picks is obviously, given the situation of the world and the PGA Tour especially, the Masters is being played in November, which we've never seen before. What sort of effects do we see that having on this week and the golfers in the tournament? Kenny, coming to you first.
I think it's going to affect it just from overall course condition. From what I've been hearing, the weather is going to be pretty wet. You're not used to seeing a ton of rain at Augusta in April, and I think it's more so in the fall that you see that. But I'm glad that they went ahead with the tournament in general. I think missing out on the Masters when we've had the PGA and we've had the US already this year. Obviously, I know the R&A decided not to go ahead with the British, but to be able to at least have the majority of the majors go this year, even if it's with no fans, I think is a great decision on their part. So I don't know if the scores are necessarily going to be as low as some of the years past, if it is going to be as wet as it is, because the course is playing pretty long, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I agree. I know, G, you've been looking at a few drainage theories flying around at Augusta. What are your thoughts on it this week?
No, obviously it's going to play longer, and there's no denying that. But I think what I'm hearing over here is that, I don't know, the courses in England get very, very wet at this time of year, and the way some people are talking about it is if it's going to be similar in Augusta, and I can't see that being the case. The weather is still. It's still warm. Obviously, it's going to play slightly longer, but I don't think it's going to be play as long as people think. And I'm not up. I might completely be wrong, but I'm kind of hoping that'll be the case as well, because it won't be a close book, and you'll have more guys in the top 20 that might have a bit more finesse rather than simply brute force and trying to smack it off the tee. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a strange one. I think people are kind of getting pigeonholed to thinking that just these blokes that can carry it 340 yards is now going to become like 3 or 4 shots easier at Augusta. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think obviously having the distance might help, being able to play holes differently, like play on different sides of the fairway, maybe go on 2 for some of the par 5s. But I don't see it playing a huge amount of difference, to be honest. And look, we obviously know what Augusta's like. We know what their greens are like. You can't just be able to hit the ball off the tee far. Like, that doesn't win you majors, and especially not Augusta. So you have to be an all-round player.
I think another thing is that these guys are like, they're all pro golfers, aren't they? Like, they all hit the ball a long way. They all play in big courses, like long courses. I know it comes down to small percentages, but a lot of them will be able to reach the par 5s in 2. And that's just might play a bit longer, but I still think they'll be able to. Maybe rather than taking a 5, they'll be able to get the woods out. But I mean, I'm hoping for our sake and for the tournament's sake that there's more to it than just brute force, because I think that will just only add to this debate about Bryson becoming some sort of robot. But
yeah, I 100% agree. But good discussion, boys. I think we're going to get into our picks. Just quickly before we get into our picks, how we've done it is you're allowed one selection from the favourite odds of 20 to 1. You have to have one selection from 20 to 1 to 50 to 1. And then you have to have an outsider selection, which is 50 to 1 onwards. I'm going to start and be very boring with my first pick and say Bryson DeChambeau. I fortunately got him at 17 to 2 odds. He's now down to 7s. Obviously, the further the talk has gone on about him hitting the ball further, people have favoured him in the betting markets. But for me, I just think this guy's a machine. I think, like we've been talking about, he gets pigeonholed as just this guy that can whack it. But he's not, he's still first. He's first to tee to green on the tour this year. He's still good getting his irons in. He's being able to scramble on putts. He's cutting down those 3 putts. And for me, given the way Augusta is this year in November with no fans, I think that benefits someone like Bryson. He's very unique, and he knows his style of play. He knows how he wants to go about. He knows the shots he wants to take. And just not saying he might have felt the pressure come a Sunday afternoon if he's in the hunt, but just having himself and his caddy and his team around him, and just that kind of calmness and confidence that he has, I think it plays into his hands even further. So I'm backing Bryson as my winner this week. I know he's at 7 to 1, which is very short odds, especially at such a stacked field at Augusta, but I have to go with him given the quality. And just to add to that, like him winning at the US Open, we have to remember he won by 6 shots in a tournament where he was the only player under par. Like, crazy. It's not like he won with 23 under with 6 shots. He absolutely destroyed that field. So yeah, Bryson's my pick. Kenny, what about you for your first pick this week?
I would be going with Dustin Johnson this week. I mean, I see his odds. They were 9 to 1 when I looked this morning. He's finished in the top 10 in his last 6 tournaments. Watching him in Houston last week, he was striking the ball incredibly. He probably should have won the event if he got his putter going. And I think he's played Augusta fairly well. We know that it's going to be wet. He's just behind Bryson as far as driving distance goes, but I think he's got a little bit more around the greens. And so I'm taking DJ this week. I just think that he's coming in great form. And when a guy is striking it that well, if he just makes a few putts, then he's going to be in the mix.
Yeah, I like it. I know DJ's obviously very consistent with those top 10 selections. And there's so many good golfers that it's hard to pick that first one. But George, who are you going for as your main pick this week?
I think like you, I would have gone with Bryson, but I'll spice it up. I'll go for John Rahm. I think this guy's been around for a while now. He just oozes confidence. He doesn't get frazzled on the course. I love the way he played in the Ryder Cup, and also looking at his past major record, it's pretty tidy. US Open tied 3rd in 2019, Masters last year tied 9th. The top 10 finish. Hits the ball a long way, albeit with quite a short backswing, quite unique. Like you, I would have gone Bryson will, but I'm going to go with John Rahm just to spice it up, and hopefully a bit of Spanish flair will light up the greens with no patrons on the Sunday.
We love it. We love the Spaniards. So then our next picks are 20 to 1 to 50 to 1 odds. So maybe the slight outsiders that you think have still got a good chance of winning and definitely placing in that top 10 or 11, no matter whoever you bet with. George, I'm coming back to you for your back-to-back pick. Put some pressure on you, lad. Who's your next pick?
No problem. I'm going to go for Mr. Finau. Even though I'm having a lot of doubts that he hasn't won since 2016, which is obviously a factor. But I found myself watching a YouTube video a couple of nights ago. This YouTuber was just on a course in Utah with Mr. Finau. Just the way he talked and how far he's hitting the ball, and just he came across as a really sound, decent bloke. And obviously that shouldn't be the reason why I'm betting on him, but the guy's thereabouts. I mean, he was with Tiger, wasn't he, in the final pairing last year, or was it a 3-ball? But yeah, I like Finau. Obviously, he's renowned for dislocating his ankle on that par 3.
That was crazy.
So let's hope. Yeah, that was mad. He doesn't have that this year, which is positive. He hits the ball a long way, which is a common theme. But I'm going to go for Finau. I think he's going to come good. If not, when he's going to come top 10.
All right, I like it. Kenny, coming to you. Who's your next pick?
So I'm going to go with, I don't know how to pronounce the first name, whether it's Tyrell or Tyrrell Hatton.
Yeah, Tyrrell.
Tyrrell? Okay. I thought so with the double R, but I had to double check. I really like how he's playing right now. I mean, he's another guy that's coming in on form. He won the BMW championship just a little while ago. I think he could be one of those guys that plays like Danny Willett did back in 2016, where he's not really a guy that you're thinking about, but he's coming in playing well. And so at 35 to 1, I think those are great odds for him. I always look at what have you done over the last month? And over the last month, he's been phenomenal. So I'm taking Hatton as my 35 to 1.
You got him at 35 to 1. He's 22 over here. He's down in the low 20s now. I mean, if I had Tyrrell Hatton at 35, he might be my selection. But I've actually gone with Webb Simpson, which might be a bit of a rogue shout. I just like that he's a pretty calm character. He's been around for a while. He knows how to play. He obviously, when he came back from lockdown, I can't remember the exact tournament. It might have been Colonial, but he got a win on the board early in the first couple of competitions after lockdown. He's a steady golfer. Top 10 last year. I just like Webb Simpson. I think he's a pretty easygoing guy, and I think what we've seen is we know what Augusta's like. It has the capability to chew up and spit you back out in one hole, and I don't think he's a guy that I see making a 10 or 11 and ruining his round in one hole. Obviously, that can happen to anyone, but I think he's just a very steady golfer and is a good pick at a 10 to 1. So I like him. And then we've got our last pick, which is our bit of our outsider. Maybe got a little bit of a sniff to win and then make you some money in those top 10 placings. But I'm going to come to you, Kenny, with your last pick. Who you like?
So his has since changed. When I bet on him, he was 150 to 1, and he's now 125 to 1. And that's Siwoo Kim. He's won a couple times on tour. He won the Players a few years ago. He's just someone to me where I don't think the crowds would get to him. And even with there being no fans, I think that's a huge advantage to him, because a lot of those guys are going to be looking to have that crowd noise on the back nine on Sunday. And it's just not going to be there this year. And so I think Kim, he's young. He's proven that he can win a big tournament. And I mean, we've had so many of these guys winning their first majors over the last little while. I'm just looking at him and thinking, if you can get him at those odds, I mean, it's a great shot for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I know you've had a little nibble at Siwoo Kim in a few tournaments, haven't you, previously? So I know he's your go-to guy and a bit of an outsider. And I'm going to go to George next. I mean, I know who he's going to pick because he backs this bloke every single year at Augusta. But George, who's your third pick?
No, I'm not going to go for Snedeker this year.
Oh,
Schneider's he's let me down. He's let me down on too many occasions. He's I won't lie. I did think about it. He showed a bit of form last week. I was telling myself I'm not going to, and suddenly his name popped up at the top of the leaderboard. Down in Houston. But no, I'm going to go for Cameron Champ. He was 80 to 1 last time I checked. I think he's falling big time.
He's
I
now
know
55.
one of the big tipsters over here is backed him as an outside bet. I had a little bit of a stat that I think he's on the tour this year. He's only like 0.1 yardage behind Mr. DeChambeau in terms of average yardage off the tee. So he hits a long ball, and his major record is, it's inexperienced, but he finished tied 10th in the PGA Championship, so it shows he can do it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how he goes. Hits a long ball. I guess it's a recurring theme. I keep saying that, but that's clearly going to be a factor, and that's what the experts are saying. So I'm going to go with them. Cameron Champ.
I like it. On my last one, I've gone a bit away from the big hitting sort of option. I've actually gone with Abraham Answer at 80 to 1. I think he's a really, really steady golfer. I've liked watching him since lockdown. Every tournament, he's always thereabouts. Really calm head. I know it's his first Augusta appearance, but he's 29 years of age. I think he's 21st on the PGA Tour rankings. And he's just an incredibly talented golfer. I really like him. Before the news of COVID, I had Joaquin Niemann as a good shout as well, who was at 80 to 1. But obviously he's not playing, so he misses out on my selection. But yeah, I like the Mexican coming in as a good top 10 option and being thereabouts on Sunday. So yeah, he's my pick. And then finish off on our selections. We're going to have one pick that we kind of don't like given their odds. We're not saying they won't win or finish top 10, but just given their odds, we think, I'm not sure, I wouldn't be putting my money towards that. And I'm going to start with, given the odds that I've seen on Sky Bet, which is 30 to 1 for this man, I'm going with Jason Day. I know he played well last week, but at 30 to 1, I just don't back him. I think, obviously he's been a golfer that's been thereabouts at Augusta. He's played some, I think he's finished second before. Has he won at Augusta? No, he hasn't won, but he's had a few. He's definitely had second place when he tied with Adam Scott. But I just don't fancy him. I think he's a really inconsistent golfer. I think he's finished like tied 40th, 60th, missed the cut already this year, and one good tournament in Houston, and his odds completely shot. And look, I might be watching this back on Sunday evening, watching him put on a green jacket and be licking my wounds, but at 30 to 1, I would be staying away from that. But Kenny, who have you got as your selection you'd stay away from this week?
Do not go anywhere near Phil Mickelson at 100 to 1. I know that everyone loves to say like, oh, but Phil's won there, like he could definitely do it again. He can't. Like his last two events, he's finished +9 and +11. Like he's not coming in playing well. Yeah, he's been tearing it up on the Champions Tour, but that's a completely different ballgame than a major. I think Phil's going to miss the cut. I think he's going to miss it badly. So don't go anywhere near those 100 to 1 odds because it's not a good bet.
Yeah, I think everyone likes sort of watching his shot out of the pine needles and his mad bunker shots, and suddenly they think, oh, do you know what, 100 to 1 might be worth a few pounds. But yeah, I definitely agree. I wouldn't be putting any of my money near Phil Mickelson. George, who have you got, Ledge?
I think the Masters is that there's so many names in there that shouldn't be there on any other tournament because they wouldn't qualify. But like you got guys like Stenson, who's in there, and 175 to 1. I've seen a lot of people think, oh, just because of the name and how he's been around the block a few times, but his form is terrible. He could pull it back together, but he's really, really bad. And there's a lot of names like that. Someone like Kuchar, 90 to 1. You think, oh, that looks attractive, but he doesn't hit the ball very far these days, and he's only getting older. Fowler, again, 60 to 1. It looks attractive, but again, no form. So I guess I'd say Stenson, but I think there's a lot of the bookies. Well, they kind of tempt you in with those odds, but these guys haven't got a hope in how.
I've put myself on a limb here with a 30 to 1 pick, and you guys have picked 3 figures. What's that about? Should have just said, don't back Larry Mize or something.
Okay. So if we're going even shorter, I'll go Jordan Spieth at 50 to 1. Don't go near it. I get it. He's won there, but he also has bad memories there, and he's coming in, doesn't hit it very far, isn't putting like he was a few years ago. He hasn't won in forever. Don't touch it. Like 50 to 1 they're trying to intrigue you with the name, and you shouldn't go near it.
Yeah. It's always, I always find it tricky betting on these because it's like, do you just back the guys that you think have got a real shot to winning, or do you look at a guy that you think, oh, he's got a good chance of finishing top 10 with those?
Yeah.
It's always tricky balancing that.
A few of the English guys, Poulter and Westwood Poulter struggled a bit with back spasms recently, but they've certainly been showing a bit of form. And because we're English and we get drawn to Westwood and Poulter, and they've been around for a long time, so they could be a top 20 shout. You don't know.
I also quite like Matt Fitzpatrick, just a quick late one to like he's been playing some good golf, and I know he's floating around the 40s to 50s. But yeah, I'd say he might be a good shout. But anyway, that's our picks. I would say listen to us, but no doubt we'll be watching Jason Day, Henrik Stenson, and Jordan Spieth battling out on Sunday afternoon. So
please not Schneider. Please not Schneider.
You might lose all your subscribers if that happens.
But anyway, that's our selections. We're now going into the quiz section. The Canadian against the Brit. All knowledge of Augusta. I don't really know if I've made this difficult or easy, but we're going to see how it plays out. 10 questions. As soon as I've answered them, just give me your answers and I'll keep a little tally. But first question is, Jack Nicklaus famously holds the most green jackets with 6 wins at Augusta. But who has the second most wins in the Masters?
I think Tiger. Tiger got his 5th last year, if I'm not mistaken.
So Kenny's going with Tiger. George?
Oh, actually, did he?
Oh, I think I'm going to say it's going to be a trick question, isn't it? It's not going to be Tiger. Oh, I'm trying to think.
You're on the clock here, boy.
I'll go Faldo as a road shout. Nick Faldo.
Nick Faldo and Tiger Woods, your answers. The answer is Tiger Woods has 5 Masters. Kenny takes the lead and goes 1 up. You got to back.
I thought it would be a trick question.
You got to back yourself. What 3 holes at Augusta to be known in Amen Corner? George, coming to you first.
11, 12, 13.
Yeah, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, both get the point. 11, 12, 13. Said to be the second half of 11 and the first half of 13, but that's the right answer. 13th is also my favourite hole at Augusta. Love that par 5, where the one where Bubba went over the trees. He absolutely boomed it. When did he win? 2014, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Love that hole. Third question. Last year, there were 3 players who finished inside the top 10 who were non-American players. Can you name me 2 of the countries who were in the top 10 that weren't America? Kenny, you first.
Oh.
Half point for each. Actually, you can say one, and then I'll let George see if he goes to the same one or goes for a different one.
England.
Right, George. First one. Who's saying?
Wasn't that there was an Olsen or Bjornsson? I'm going to go Denmark.
Kenny, who's your next one?
I don't know if he fell far enough. I'm going to say Molinari, so Italy.
And George, what are you going?
Oh, Spanish.
Well, I can tell you, you both have a point each. Molinari was indeed tied for 5th. And Italy was in the top 10, and John Rahm held the Spanish flag high and got a tied 9th position. The man you're missing was Jason Day of Australia, who I just said don't back. So I don't know why I just put that quiz question in. But moving on to the next one. So I believe it's 1.5 points to Kenny and half points to George. Oh, no. Amen Corner as well, 2.5, 1.5. Number 4, who was the last Englishman to win the green jacket? George, answer.
Danny Willett.
Danny Willett.
Easy, straight off, easy answer. Both straight off, tick. Number 5, I want both for this, so this is a bit of a tough one. In 2009, Angel Cabrera famously won the playoff in a 3-way playoff, but who were the 2 people he was playing against in the playoff?
Ooh.
I need to keep a tally of these scores because my brain's not big enough.
Was Adam Scott in the playoff?
I mean, you tell me. You're answering the questions.
Is this 2009? You said. Well,
2009, yeah.
Man, that's a tough one.
I'll go. Wasn't Kenny Perry? Really rush out that.
Kenny Perry.
Kenny Perry, and I'll go Sergio.
I'm going to go Scott and Perry.
Kenny Perry is 1, and Chad Campbell is 1. So I'll give you half
Chad
each.
Campbell.
I don't know why, but it's always one that's like just in there somehow. I always just remember it. I don't know if I remember watching it or reading about it or whatever, but I just always remember
I
that.
think Scott might have lost the playoff to Bubba. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I think
I
also
feel like he's been there in a playoff.
I think Scott won the playoff against Cabrera like 4 years later or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 6. What did Sandy Lyle famous serve in 1989 for his Champions Dinner?
Oh.
Kenny.
I'm going to say haggis because I think he's Scottish, so I would assume haggis.
And G?
My mother's Scottish, so I'm just...
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to be sheep and go with that answer as well. And it's authentic
It's
Scottish
sheep,
dish.
and there is sheep intestines in this meal. It is haggis. You're both right. George, you need to catch up. You're a point back here, Ledge. Number 7. Cannot read my writing, but here it goes. In 1997, Tiger Woods shot the record score of 18 under, 270 at Augusta. Who 18 years later equaled that record score at Augusta?
Jordan Spieth.
Jordan Spieth.
I should have made these harder, you know. I didn't want to be too hard, but
well, I did the math in my head, and I'm like 2015.
All right, point each there. Number 8, here we go. How many shots did Sergio Garcia take on the 15th in 2018, equaling the most shots taken on any hole in Augusta history? Kenny, coming to you first.
I remember watching it, and I'm just trying to think.
It was a painful.
I'm gonna say he took a 12.
I think he took an 11.
Oh, they've got next to each other. I can tell you, you're both wrong. It was a 13.
Oh, come on.
He took 13 shots. I mean, it was Jordan Spieth times about 700 that hole. Just kept putting it in the water. Horrible to watch, but that's what Augusta's like, unfortunately. Number 9, and our penultimate question. Who was the first non-American to win the Masters? Gaz, coming to you first.
I'll go Seve.
I'm gonna go Gary Player.
I can tell you one of you's right.
It's not me.
It's Gary Player, unfortunately. Seve was actually the second non-American to win it, so that's a good effort from you, but unfortunately, Kenny's taken it. I was going to give options in this, but now Kenny's 2 points ahead. I'm going to make number 10 as hard as possible. So, who is the oldest competitor this week at Augusta? I mean, this is the research I've done, so I hope this is right. George, come to you first.
Bernard Langer.
Oh. I had a guy in my head, and I don't know if it's right now. Because I don't know if he's played his last one, because we mentioned him earlier. Is it Sandy Lyle?
It is Bernard Langer at the age of 63.
Get in there.
I think Lyle might have played his last one a couple of years ago.
Kenny's won the quiz by a point, but I wrote a tiebreak question, and if George gets this exactly right, I will give him the win. I mean, he's not getting this exactly right. I'm just warning you. but because if he does, this is cheating, and I know his phone's out. But in 2019, recorded, how many yards? I'll give the closest one gets the point. How many yards is Augusta National Golf Course?
What is in tee to green this year?
Whole course, 1 to 18, tee to green. How many yards? George, I'm putting you first because the pressure's on you to come up with the points.
Ooh, trying to think what. Should know more. I'll go 6,558.
I'm gonna go 6,559. I'm gonna prices right him because I think it's higher.
Kenny is in fact right. It's 7,475.
Jesus, that's well off.
Extremely tactical from the Canadian.
I thought that it was in the 7,000s, but I didn't want to risk it in case I had some misinformation there.
So that brings an end to our quiz. The Canadian, Kenny, has taken it. Kenny, congratulations. I mean, if that means anything, if you guys have listened to this, that means take his picks and stay away from George's.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that wraps things up. Obviously, we're all looking forward to a really high-class week of golf for Augusta. To Kenny and George, thanks a lot for coming on, guys. Really enjoyed it, talking. And you guys got anything to add to finish it off?
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, enjoy the Masters. What a great golfing tournament.
Exactly. No matter what it is, if it's red wine, if it's whiskey, whatever your drink is, get it ready for this week. Settle down, get Sky Sports on, and get the Masters on, and back the Brits home. But cheers, boys. That's all done.
Cheers, guys.